Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, August 31st, the last day of the month, and we have a very active tropical scene, a tropical system over the Gulf of Mexico. Looks like it is intensifying rapidly this morning, and it looks like it'll slam into Florida the next 24 to 48 hours, so likely as a hurricane. And if that is the case, it would be the first hurricane to reach Florida since October of 2005, an amazing, unprecedented streak in the record-keeping era here, in which Florida has not had a hurricane in almost 11 years, since late October 2005. 2005 was that unbelievably active year, a record-breaking year, and Wilma was a major hurricane that came ashore in southwestern Florida in late October that year. That is the last hurricane of any intensity to reach the shores of Florida. But this has a decent chance. First, it has to become, of course, a tropical storm. That I expect to happen this morning. It should become officially named as a tropical storm this morning. And I think it's quite likely that it reaches hurricane status by the time it reaches the Panhandle region of Florida in the next 24 to 48 hours. This is the latest colorized infrared satellite imagery loop from the Penn State EWAL site. Notice the last couple of frames, just really quite an impressive explosion here, intensification of all the convection over the Gulf of Mexico. We've been talking about for days how the Gulf of Mexico is very warm. Not only typically warm this time of the year, but it's warmer than normal for this time of the year. A lot of areas in the Gulf of Mexico are greater than 85 or 86 degrees, all conducive to some intensification. There was some wind shear associated with this system. That has diminished, and that will help to allow for intensification. Again, it's liable to be called officially a tropical storm this morning, and then head in this direction to the north and east, reaching the Panhandle region of Florida in the next 24 to 48 hours or so. Again, I think likely as a hurricane. A couple other kind of forerunner systems here off the southeast coast and off the Carolina coast. Both of these are moving away, and this will become a major player, not only for Florida and parts of the southeast U.S., but there are signs that it could turn back towards the northeastern U.S. coastline over the weekend or into the early part of next week. We'll talk about that over the next few minutes. That has happened before, and it's something that has to be monitored closely over the next several days. Well, I wanted to show a map with the latest lightning strikes across the nation and over the Gulf of Mexico, just to show this particular widespread area here. Again, a very active scene right here. Lots of lightning associated with that tropical system, still officially called Tropical Depression 9. I expect tropical storm status to be officially declared today, and then again, it could very well become a hurricane by the time it makes landfall in Florida later tomorrow, most likely in the Panhandle region of the state of Florida. And here's the latest official storm track as predicted by the National Hurricane Center in Miami, part of NOAA. Again, it looks like the system is right now in the southern part of the Gulf of Mexico. It turns to the north and east. It slams into the Panhandle region of Florida in the time period of later tomorrow. Again, it should reach tropical storm status today, and I think quite likely it'll reach hurricane status before landfall sometime later Thursday in the Panhandle region of Florida. Of course, heavy rainfall throughout this area, central and northern Florida, the Panhandle region. Again, if it does in fact reach Florida as a hurricane, that would be the first hurricane in Florida since Wilma of October 2005. That is the longest drought of hurricanes in the record-keeping era, which goes all the way back into the middle part of the 1800s. After landfall, it'll continue to the north and east and reach perhaps the Outer Banks region or the eastern part of North Carolina by about early Saturday morning. Again, heavy rainfall can be expected along the path in the southern and eastern parts of the southeast U.S. And then it gets really interesting in terms of what could happen in the northeast U.S. It looks like it'll start to appear to go harmlessly out to sea, but there certainly are signs that over the weekend or into the early part of next week, this could very well make a turn, slow down, and make a turn towards either the Mid-Atlantic coastline or more than likely the New England coastline in the Sunday-Monday time frame. All of that is yet to be determined, of course, but it is on the table. It has happened before. Hurricane Agnes, for example, way back in June of 1972, came out of the Gulf of Mexico, turned northeast, and then kind of looped back around into the northern part of Pennsylvania. Of course, Sandy took kind of a left turn here into New Jersey several years ago. So it certainly can happen. We'll talk in a moment that the key player, one of the key players, will be tremendously strong high pressure, which will be pushing to the north and east, and eventually it could get into a position where it prevents this system from escaping out into the open Atlantic. Well, let's kind of walk through a couple of forecast models from last night. First of all, we'll look at the 0Z GFS model run, and then we'll look at the 06Z model run. I typically use the 0Z and 12Z model runs. They're a little bit more important in my book because they have the latest upper air data sets. Radiosonde balloons are launched twice a day at 0Z and 12Z, and so those model runs at 0Z and 12Z have the latest upper air data, which is crucial to the accuracy of the models. But an interesting thing has happened between 0Z and 6Z as far as the GFS is concerned, and we'll take a look at that difference, and then we'll take a look at the European model run. First of all, this is the 24-hour forecast from last night's 0Z GFS for this evening. Here's that tropical system here, probably tropical storm status by this time, moving northeast. Again, this is for Wednesday evening. Now let's just keep walking through this. Here is tomorrow morning on the doorstep of the Panhandle here, slowly intensifying. And here is the latter part of the day on Thursday, late Thursday, coming ashore. Again, I think perhaps as a weak hurricane at this point in time. If not, it'll certainly be as tropical storm status. This is late Thursday. Let's keep walking through this, and it pushes it along the southeast coastline, reaching the near the southern part of the Outer Banks, or just off the North Carolina coastline here by early Saturday morning. Let's keep walking through this. Then it seemingly goes out to sea harmlessly in terms of the Mid-Atlantic region. Notice here, very strong high pressure, however, setting up across New England, almost like the banana-shaped highs we often talk about in the wintertime associated with winter storms. Banana-shaped highs tend to slow down the movement of storms along the East Coast, provide cold air, and increase snow amounts in the Mid-Atlantic region and the Northeast. And in this case, it can also act to slow down the movement of a tropical system and in effect help to push it back towards the coastline. This is one key player that we'll watch over the next several days. Let's keep moving ahead here. This is the 0Z GFS, and it continues to move it slowly to the north and east and out to sea. Pretty much high pressure dominating throughout the Labor Day weekend. Let's now, however, jump to the 06 GFS model run, and we'll see quite a different solution. Well, here is the 06 GFS model run, starting again early tonight. This is an 18-hour forecast from last night's 06Z. Let's continue to walk through this. And similar to the 0Z GFS, it slams the Panhandle region of Florida by late tomorrow, early tomorrow night, rides it up to the north and east, reaching the Outer Banks region of North Carolina by Saturday morning. Then, however, notice what the 06Z GFS model run has done. It pushes it back into the Mid-Atlantic region. This is early Sunday morning. This is the very latest GFS model run at 06Z. Again, I don't take too much credence in the 06Z run unless it is mimicked by the 12Z run. I wait for the latest Radiosonde data to get in, so the 12Z run will be critical. However, this is just sending a red flag. The models are just tools here, and this is sending a red flag that indeed it could back in towards the Mid-Atlantic or especially the New England coastline over the Labor Day weekend. We'll see the latest European model run in a moment. That too has a tendency to back it in towards the coastline. Again, not an unprecedented occurrence. High pressure, pretty much a banana-shaped high pressure system wrapping around here and preventing this from escaping out into the open Atlantic. Well, let's now walk through the European model run. All of these maps, by the way, from tropicaltidbits.com in terms of the GFS and European model runs. This is the forecast for this evening from last night's 0Z European model run. And here we have to walk through in 24-hour increments. We'll go out 48 hours. By early Thursday night, here it is, a strong-looking system. Again, I think it'll be a hurricane system, and that would be the first one since October of 2005 to hit Florida. Let's go out now, a 72-hour forecast. This is Friday evening. There's the storm, quite impressive on the European, right along the South Carolina coastline. And then by Saturday evening, it's a strong storm, but it's pretty far off the mid-Atlantic coastline. Let's now jump ahead out another 24 hours, and there it is, well out to sea here. This is Sunday evening. High pressure back here over the mid-Atlantic region and extending up into New England. Again, this is now a 5-day forecast from last night's 0Z European model run. A strong storm, but seemingly harmlessly well out to sea at this time. But let's now go another 24 hours. And here you go. It starts curving back towards New England at this time. Let's jump back and forth here. 5-day forecast and a 6-day forecast. It starts curving back towards the New England coastline, already buffeting Cape Cod, for example, with some strong winds. This is as late as Monday evening, the evening of Labor Day. So even the European model is hinting at a possible movement back towards the coastline over the Labor Day weekend, or excuse me, the early part of next week. So a lot to watch for over the next several days. Florida definitely gets slammed by this system late tomorrow, early tomorrow night. And then the southeast U.S. coastline will get pounded by some heavy rainfall. It remains to be seen whether the mid-Atlantic region, or especially New England, gets impacted by what is now called Tropical Depression number 9. If that happens up in the northeast U.S., it would probably be in the Sunday, Monday time frame. Well, one last map I'd like to show before we wrap it up for today. This is the sea surface temperature anomaly chart, and one of the reasons to be concerned in the mid-Atlantic and northeast is way above normal water temperatures, sitting right off of this region right here. It's warmer than normal general over the Gulf of Mexico, but relative to normal, it's even higher than that off the mid-Atlantic coastline and New England coastline. So a lot to monitor over the next several days. Stay tuned to VencoreWeather.com. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.